today. And I sat down with Diller in a wide-ranging interview last week in downtown Manhattan, and we talked about so many things. He's going to be with us in just a little bit live. But we started by talking about his experience launching the fourth TV network in this country, Fox. And he did it with Rupert Murdoch back in 1986.
When Rupert, who I've always described as kind of the sun god, when the sun god smiles on you, ain't nothing like it. And the way he did me a great good favor when I went to him and said, I want to be a partner in this enterprise I've helped build. And he said, there's really only one principle, and this is a family company, and you're not in my family. And I left.
So I want to ask you about that moment, because you're right. He says, this is a family company, and you are not a member.
Yeah.
And you wrote that your delusions at that moment about maybe having an opportunity to sit at that table, maybe almost as a almost member of the family, crumbled. What did you think?
I thought I'd been told. What did I think prior to?
Prior to him saying that, did you think that he...
No, I think any employee, any good employee, thinks the company's theirs, or should, and is proprietary towards it. And any good employee acts like it is theirs. And it is a delusion because it isn't.
We talked about a lot of delusions. One of the things that we also discussed was one of the most challenging times in Diller's career, which was a court battle with someone that he considered a friend and a mentor, John Malone, whose company Liberty Media ended up suing IAC when Diller proposed to split up his company into 5 companies. And he reflected on that battle and what happened.
I was really devastated by it because, first of all, to say the least, control is a big part of my life. And I had a lifetime proxy on these shares, which meant I totally controlled the entity. And we were in Delaware court to, quote, take it away. So it went right to my heart.
So tell me, when you got the apology, what you felt like.
I felt a good, decent man reclaimed himself. I mean, he wrote me a lovely note. When it was over, and it was not only an exhale, to say the least, which I felt good about, but what I felt very good about is this person I revered, who I'd been associated with then for 20 years or so, did the right thing in the end. Because, by the way, what I didn't say is when John Malone testified, our lawyer said, it's over. John Malone would not cove to the lies that his executives made. He told the truth.
And then we got into this story, which is really quite fascinating. Among the many hits that Diller negotiated in his career, and there are so many of them, one was Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, if you get in to read this book, you'll find out that it didn't go exactly as he wanted to, specifically with another famed man, George Lucas.
When we made the Raiders deal, which was at that time probably the priciest deal ever made, I said one thing. Okay, we're going to do this, but I'm never going to be in the situation of Fox, which made Star Wars and had a one license deal for the picture, and had no rights after that. So I said, all I care about, other than the absurd deal we agreed to, is that the sequel rights are nailed so tight and so clear they will never ever be discussed again. It was the one thing I did, and that's what we did.
And then?
Well, and then we made Raiders. It was this smash huge hit, and a year or two later, up comes the sequel, and George Lucas says, I want to do the sequel. And we said, fantastic. And then it was, but we want to change the deal. I said, you want to change the sacrosanct deal? Yeah, it's just not good enough for us. In the end, we caved. We had no choice. And we made a new deal.
What did you learn about that? Because there are a couple of instances in this book where there's clearly deals you think you have, or things that you're expecting one way to happen. And then it's a fascinating story. All of a sudden, things happen.
Yeah.
And you realize that maybe leverage you thought you had in the beginning, you don't necessarily have later.
You're always going to have changed circumstances. But when you have an honorable agreement, breaking it, that's not leverage. That's thievery to me.
And he hasn't talked to George Lucas since.
Really?
That's the upshot of that story.
I mean, Barry is somebody, when he describes Rupert Murdoch as the sun god and you just flourish when you're given that sun, or he talks about how much he admires John Malone, I just think about Barry as being the person that so many others describe in those
as the
very
sun god,
ways.
yes.
The sun god, when you get his attention, when you get his time, his guidance, his mentoring, there are legions of people throughout.
Well, I was
New
expecting
York.
that the George Lucas story was going to end well.
I
To
thought
be
so,
honest
too.
with you,
After-
we didn't run the full clip. It ends actually quite tragically, which is that he thought it was one of the most dishonorable things that's ever happened in his career.
Did they make the?
Oh yes, there have been obviously many sequels
But they were made by the same studio?
Yes, and what he was saying was they caved and actually paid him, but they paid him relatively unhappily.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a lot more.
That sense of honor.
Honor matters for him. We're going to have a lot more talk about honor in additional conversations, which you're going to see in just a little bit with Barry Diller in the next hour. He reflects on writing this book, his memoir, what he learned from the experience. And by the way, we're going to get into it. All of the attention that his personal life has been getting, his sexuality, his marriage to DVF. It's coming up, so you're going to get into all of it. You're going to see all of it, and then Mr. Diller will be at the table here this morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be here live, and we're going to get into all the big headlines of the moment. So